Ambassador Zixtal's four eyes rolled in synchronized disgust as the primitive human vessel docked with the Galactic Council's orbital station. The ship was a grotesque patchwork of welded metal plates, jury-rigged engines, and what appeared to be actual duct tape holding critical systems together. Worse still, it bore the audacious designation UES Defiance in crude Earth script across its hull. "This is what they send to represent their species?" sneered Council Member Vorth, his crystalline form shimmering with disdain. "We've seen more sophisticated technology and asteroid mining equipment." The assembled dignitaries of the Galactic Council, representing 47 advanced civilizations, watched through the viewing gallery as the human delegation disembarked. They moved with an odd confidence that seemed entirely unwarranted given their circumstances. Earth had only discovered faster-than-light travel 6 months ago, practically yesterday by galactic standards. Most species required centuries to develop stable FTL drives. Captain Sarah Chen led the human delegation into the council chamber, her worn military uniform a stark contrast to the flowing energy garments and biomechanical augmentations of the other representatives. Behind her walked 5 other humans, each looking equally unremarkable by galactic standards. No telepathic abilities, no natural armor plating, no extended lifespans. Just soft, fragile creatures that had somehow stumbled into the greater galaxy. "Honored Council," Captain Chen began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation matrix. "Humanity formally requests membership in the Galactic Alliance and pledges our fleet to the common defense." The laughter started as a low rumble from the Korthak delegation and spread throughout the chamber like wildfire. Even the usually stoic Etherians allowed themselves amused thought pulses that registered on the psychic dampeners. "Your fleet?" wheezed Ambassador Zixtal, his respiratory sacs inflating with mirth. "That one ship constitutes your entire spacefaring military?" "Actually," Captain Chen replied evenly, "the Defiance is just my command vessel. Our fleet currently consists of 237 ships." This statement caused fresh waves of laughter. The hegemony of Clax had 12,000 warships. The Etherian collective maintained over 50,000 vessels across their territory. What could a few hundred primitive human craft possibly contribute? "Even if your numbers were accurate," interjected Supreme Commander Thexmore of the Draknari Empire, "what use are they? Your technology is centuries behind our most basic systems. Your weapons couldn't penetrate modern shielding. Your engines can barely maintain stable warp fields, and your computers are so primitive they still use binary code." Captain Chen nodded thoughtfully. "You're absolutely right, Supreme Commander. Our technology is inferior in every measurable way, but sometimes the best solution isn't the most advanced one." "How quaint," muttered Council Member Vorth. "The primitive species speaks of solutions. Tell us, Captain, what possible solution could your ramshackle fleet provide to any real threat?" Before Captain Chen could respond, the chamber's emergency klaxons began wailing. The massive display screens around the room flickered to life, showing sensor readings that made even the most experienced military commanders among the council go rigid with fear. The Devourers had returned. The ancient enemy that had nearly consumed the galaxy 3,000 years ago, a species of pure predation that stripped entire worlds of all organic matter, had somehow bypassed the early warning networks and emerged directly into the core systems. Their bioships, each the size of a small moon, were already beginning their feeding frenzy on the agricultural world of New Verdant. "Impossible," breathed Ambassador Zixtal. "The quantum barriers should have detected them days before." "The barriers don't work anymore," interrupted an urgent transmission from Fleet Command. "They've evolved, adapted. Our sensors can't track them, our weapons barely scratch their hulls, and they're moving faster than our evacuation ships." Panic rippled through the chamber as the full scope of the crisis became clear. In the 3 millennia since the last Devourer incursion, galactic civilization had grown soft and specialized. Their technology was magnificent but rigid, optimized for known threats and predictable parameters. The Devourers had returned with capabilities that rendered centuries of tactical doctrine obsolete. "How many ships can we mobilize?" demanded Supreme Commander Thexmore. maybe 1,200 across. All member fleets, but they'll need at least 6 hours to reach the core systems, came the reply. By then, New Verdant will be completely consumed and they'll be moving on to the next target. Captain Chen stepped forward. Permission to deploy the human fleet, Honored Council. The request was so absurd that several representatives forgot their terror long enough to stare at her in disbelief. Captain, Supreme Commander Thexmore said with strained patience, your ships cannot possibly. Our ships are already in position, Captain Chen interrupted, touching a control on her wrist communicator. The main display shifted to show the space around New Verdant, where impossible things were happening. Human vessels, those same primitive patchwork ships the Council had mocked, were emerging from concealment all around the Devourer bioships. They moved with a coordination that spoke of months of planning, not hasty deployment. But more shocking than their positioning was their weaponry. Instead of the elegant energy weapons preferred by galactic civilization, the human ships were firing crude kinetic projectiles, chunks of metal accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. The bioships' adaptive hulls, which had effortlessly absorbed and deflected the Council's most advanced weapons, had no defense against simple, mass-traveling at relativistic speeds, nuclear-pumped X-ray lasers, kinetic kill vehicles, and good old-fashioned high explosives. Captain Chen explained calmly, as the display showed Devourer bioships being systematically torn apart. Sometimes the best solution is the simplest. 1. But how did you know? Whispered Council Member Vorth. How did you position your fleet in advance? Captain Chen smiled, the first truly human expression she'd shown since entering the chamber. Because we didn't rely on your quantum sensors or prediction algorithms, we used something much more primitive and unreliable, human intuition and paranoia. We've been watching the Outer Dark for weeks using purely passive sensors and Mark I eyeballs. When you've spent your entire existence as prey, you get very good at spotting predators. On the display, the last of the Devourer bioships was coming apart under sustained human fire. The agricultural world of New Verdant remained intact, its population saved by the intervention of ships that every council member had dismissed as worthless scrap. The chamber fell silent except for the soft humming of life support systems and the occasional click of mandibles as various species processed what they had witnessed. Finally, Ambassador Zixtal found his voice. The Galactic Council formally accepts Earth's petition for membership. Admiral Chen, we would be honored to have the human fleet as part of our common defense. Captain, now Admiral. Chen nodded respectfully. Thank you, Ambassador. We look forward to working with you. After all, the galaxy is a dangerous place, and sometimes the best technology is the kind that works when everything else fails. As the human delegation departed to coordinate with Fleet Command, the council members sat in contemplative silence. They had learned a valuable lesson about the difference between sophistication and effectiveness, between advancement and adaptability. In the Outer Dark, ancient threats stirred and evolved, but now the galaxy had something it hadn't possessed. In millennia, a species that still remembered how to fight dirty, think creatively, and never ever give up. The stars might go dark, but humanity would be waiting in the shadows with duct tape, determination, and enough firepower to remind the universe that sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one everyone underestimates.